Welcome to the WRW podcast, where we cry and cry and cry and cry and wish we were eating udon noodles. Ace week is coming up. What week is it? Is it the last week of October?
Yeah, last week.
Last week of October. The same week of Halloween usually?
And I guess so.
Is it the same week as Halloween this year?
Except there are only
Last year it wasn't.
It's like always.
No, it's not. It's not the same week as Halloween because it's the last week of October and then 2 remaining days. So it's a week before Halloween.
I don't know the dates. I just know
Something.
that it's the last week.
We're recording on the 13th because
Friday the 13th! Oh. Friday the 13th!
it is Friday the 13th! Oh wow! Indeed it is.
Halloween episode instead.
No. Night time.
Being
Orange
in society.
Orange light.
It's a sign. Pumpkin light.
Something. Okay. But basically, it's our final year. The schedule has not been scheduling. So we just wanted to record this episode early enough that it is vaguely coming out
Yeah.
around Ace week.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Before,
If it doesn't,
after
it's still
something.
good.
If
Your
it does-
perception of time is wrong.
Yes. Yeah. So before we get into that, we have a special question from Anna, and Abhi might also join in. Oh my god, we didn't introduce ourselves. I'm Sammi.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Sam.
And that's Abhi. Yeah, hi guys.
This episode is really informal.
Yeah.
No. Specifically, we're not.
Especially, this was very unplanned also.
This is an Anarchy episode in theme and also structure.
Sorry, Devi. 1, 2, 3. Sorry,
Devi. So, special question from Anand.
Okay, I'm so excited to ask you this question. What is a food item that you really like and you have a really nice memory associated with it? Who wants to go first? Not me.
Let me think. What food have I consumed?
Wait, what's the question? What's a food that you really like and that you have a really special memory associated with it? Do you want me to start?
Yeah,
Yes.
Please start.
Okay, so once when I was 9 years old, we went to the UK and it was a really nice, fun vacation. And then we came back and I was really sad because I wanted to stay there because I was like, oh, school's so fun. And I used to hate going to school. And we came back and we were all like really jet lagged. And we came from the nice, cold climate of the UK, from the nice AC of the airport, and then we were driving home and it was so hot because it was the heat of Delhi's summer. It was like the end of June, which means it's like peak summer, and then we were all really sleepy and we were falling asleep, and then we came home, and then I think my sister and we just switched the AC on, we went to sleep, and when we woke up, my mom had made this one thing called dali toy, it's like a really simple dal. It's a really simple.
Maybe you should put this in the...
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's the rice cooker.
Yeah.
The food.
It's my memory. Be immersed in my memory.
And in case that the rice cooker sounds are not coming, basically the rice cooker keeps whistling every like 3 seconds.
Snakes.
And yeah, it is very funny and contributing to the food vibes. Yes, go on.
It has a really light tempering of like ghee, which
What
is
it
clarified.
called? Can you teach me?
Dali toy. Dali toy.
Dali
Toy.
toy. Dali toy.
Toy. Which has like hing in it. It's just really good and it's comfort food. And along with that, we made this one potato wala sabzi, which we call charchar upkari. Upkari means Yeah.
as in salt?
no. Upkari as in like a palya.
Huh.
Like, that's what you call it.
Okay.
And it's called charchar upkari because it's really crispy potato. And then we ate that with the dal and rice. And
Sartar is, I don't know if it's meant to be onomatopic, but it is
I think
very,
it's supposed to
It
be.
is very soundly.
it is supposed to be. I think it's on it. But I just have a really nice memory associated with it. And every time I go home, I ask to eat that because it reminds me of coming home and being comfortable. Anyone else?
I have thought
Sami, thank you.
I have thought of a food because I've every time someone asks me to name some memory in your life, I'm like, this has to be the best memory that I have had in my entire life. The most amazing food, which is so hard because I don't have the best food associations or as strong food associations as Anna and Sam. So, but my memory was, I think this was this whole period. I don't even know why we did this so often, but I think I was that transition few years between middle school and high school, and just every now and then, like a Namdhari's had opened up near our home, and they have like all these different kind of fruits and vegetables that are grown in greenhouses that you don't like naturally get in India. And so my mom would buy leeks, and we would make like leek soup. And we would do this like once every 2 weeks. And for some reason, every time we have the leek soup, we would watch Frozen. And we watched it like 5 to 7 times, like just leek soup and watching Frozen. I don't even know why, but it was very nice leek soup. Yeah?
Leek week.
Leek week?
Yes. Go on.
Yes. But yeah, it was great. I remember just picking out the leeks, and they have those concentric circles, and some of them are like
I
fallen.
have never seen a leek.
It's like an onion, but it's like the circumference is same throughout.
It's like a spring onion.
No.
Then?
It has the same kind of layers of an onion, but it's more cabbagely than an onion is. It is long.
I cannot.
It's long.
It's somewhere in between like cabbage and onion and asparagus.
Like a spring onion.
Canyon.
But it doesn't taste like a spring onion. It tastes more like a cabbage, but in between cabbage and
Does it
onion.
taste like...
Or maybe I don't remember what it tastes like, and
I
I'm
know
just
what
saying
leeks
things.
look like. They look like that.
No, but what they taste like, I'm not entirely sure.
Literally look like spring onion, but a bigger one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't taste like that.
I don't know how spring onion tastes like either.
Spring onion tastes like onion, but grass flavored onion.
Because we don't use it much.
Huh.
Anything
When
at
you
all.
go to any like Chinese restaurant, any Korean restaurant, and wherever we've been, you 100% eaten.
I mean, it doesn't have a very profound specific taste. It just tastes a little fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It probably.
Yeah.
Or maybe I picked it out. Lol.
Bro.
Yeah, like anything green, you're like, not for me. Today, I
It's
don't
not
plan on eating
eco-friendly.
healthy food.
I mean, who eats healthy in Chinese food, man?
You're saying Chinese people don't eat healthy food.
I'm saying Indo-Chinese, Desi Chinese.
Yeah.
Where is the healthy in Desi Chinese food?
I guess a case could be made.
Yes. Sam,
I
do you
want
have a
Oh yeah.
food?
Yeah, so like I was going okay, there's a lot of
noise.
yeah.
I think it's ace.
It's aphobia. It's aphobia.
Okay, I mean we can equate that noise to the making of grounding some
Spices?
Yeah.
Okay.
something food.
Also adding to the vibe.
The ambience.
Yes.
Okay, go on.
Okay, yeah. So I was going through the bookmarks in my brain of the foods I've eaten. I couldn't go through all of them because we have like limited time. But I went through some of them, and a recent one at that. Yeah. So my grandma, my dad's side grandma, she whenever we go home for vacation, every single time, like we reach the station early in the morning, right? Because we do the overnight train, and we reach early in the morning, and I have like this like memory of us going. There's a bridge, so the place where I'm in, it's in a city. Like Kochi is the city now, but the place, it's like not. It wasn't very accessible until 2 years ago. So we had to like climb down a staircase from the bridge and then walk and go there. Buses never come there. It was like that kind of area, even though it was in the middle of a city. Yeah. So I have the memory of going like this, and we go in the morning, early morning, and the first thing that she presents to us is this thing called motta patiri.
Motta patri.
Yeah, motta is egg, and patiri is sort of a pancake kind of thing. Yeah. So
So like patrode?
huh? No.
I'm trying to think of I'm trying to morphologically connect.
Patiri is a lot of things in Malayalam. There's like different kinds of patiri. There's ari patiri, which is rice patiri, and this is like
Maybe
motta
the
patiri.
refers to the the flatness.
Yeah,
of
it's
that.
like a dosa.
It's like a
Dosa, but it's like more soft, it's more round, it's more short, it looks like that.
Is it fluffy?
Yeah. And the thing with this is that I also have this memory. So she doesn't make this in a stove. She makes it in a wood fire place. So behind the kitchen, like there's this area where like the bathroom is not attached to the house. It's like there's a space, and then there's a bathroom, and then there's a washing area in the side, and then here there's like a wood fire area where it's like blazing, and then she makes it there. And even my grandfather, when he was alive, he used to do that. So that's like a memory, making motta patri. So how we eat the motta patri is only with coconut milk.
Oh.
Yeah. So we take one patri in a plate, and then you put like coconut milk, which she herself makes, and then you submerge it in that, like very sweet. And so the thing why she always makes this is because my dad used to love it. So he is coming home from he went out of state to work, and he's coming home after a long time. So I want to make this for him. So it's that kind of thing. But even I started like loving that. So even recently when I went to her house without my parents,
She still made it.
And no, the thing is she made it, okay? So but we went during lunchtime, and so first she served us lunch. She served all kinds of seafood. But the thing is, she was like, Mute, I made motta patri in the morning because I thought you would come in the morning. Yeah, and then I mean, I was stuffed with the lunch, okay? But then how can I say no to that? And I had 2 plates of motta patri with her, and I think she was happy that I had it. So that is the food memory I have.
Do you have something?
Your memory.
Sure.
Remember now.
Okay, so there's this thing called litti chokha, like from Bihar, because I'm from Bihar. Anyways. So there's this thing called litti chokha, which is like whole wheat, like they're like kachori, they're like ball, okay, but they're like stiff. So it's like you have to break them. It's like kachori, but it's made of whole wheat, and you have like gram flour inside it, like sattu. Yeah, so you have that inside it, and then you cook it on like a coal wala like stove chulha, and then you eat it with like mashed like brinjal and potatoes and tomatoes, and it's called chokha. So like litti and chokha. And if you don't like the brinjal, like mashed potato brinjal whatever, then you eat it with like ghee. So I eat it with ghee because
You're a loser? Okay.
because I don't want to eat it. It's really heavy, okay, because my mom gives me like 4 of them, and it's like the gram flour is really heavy. So if I eat it with the chokha, then I'm probably just like going to be really stuffed for the whole day. So I just like eat it with ghee. Like you tear open the ball, and then you put like the ghee on them, and it's like really hot, and it's so nice. And I first ate this back in my great grandma's village. So she used to make this for us in that coal wala chulha, like the stove. And if you cook it in like your normal gas stove, it's fine, but still like the authenticity of it,
Flavor of the...
yeah, it's so good. And then I remember like last year with my grandma and my grandpa, we had this like barbecue thing, okay? So obviously they won't eat like chicken and stuff, so we were making litti chokha on the barbecue instead of like the chicken and paneer or whatever. It was so good. Oh my god, I love litti chokha. Everyone should try litti chokha.
Please, I want the chokha.
No, because coincidentally, I don't know what it is, but while going through the bookmarks, I think I was thinking of the same thing. Yeah, because when we were in Delhi, like our opposite house, there were like a Bihari family, and they used to like give us food, and I used to like think, what is it called? I had literally no idea what it was called. But then when you said litti chokha, I was like, like whenever I see some food I never heard of, I Google it up, even when I'm like reading or whatever. So I Googled it up, and it's the exact same thing.
Yes, we're telepathically connected.
WRW, connecting cultures.
Yeah.
Literally, I was thinking of that.
Unifying India.
Yes.
The American.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Like the family, like the auntie, she used to make it and give us like every month. My god.
Really tasty.
Man, I love this culture of when
Sharing
when
food,
like the neighbors, yeah.
You have that box of that box that
you
they
give
so
a
you
box
fill it up and you
yeah.
keep circulating.
Man, but us living in the Chennai house, it's like it's all workers, man. I mean, workers and the people who go work.
To office.
Yeah, and there's no culture of that there, and I'm so sad.
Okay, so as a baby Eroes person, as in I am very young, please don't start that discourse a second time. As someone who's kind of new to identifying with this label, I think my journey so far has kind of been just fixated on the idea of what is love anyway, and why is it so important in general. And to me, it's like through many years of my life and many conversations that I've had with my friends, I feel like I have this understanding of how the world views love and how that's impacted me, in the sense that if any chance of romantic love feels like, oh my god, this is the greatest moment of my life, I need to get this opportunity and wring the fun out of it. And then I understand that it works like that, and then I'm like, I am aware, I will not act like everybody else. But if I encounter any form of romantic love, even though at this point I'm not even sure if I feel it, I'll just be like, yeah, go for it, bro, you have to have fun now, it'll be so much fun. And I think my question kind of is just, what is the value of this form of love anyway? And isn't love just a thing, like a very abstract thing? It doesn't have to have one particular form, and it doesn't really, like in the things that we're discussing, where we're talking about Koisenu Futari, and in that, love is being in a physical space with someone and having that shared understanding. And I want to bring in this character called Entrapta from Shira, and she is kind of in a QPR with a baby clone of the villain. Like, he's not a baby, like he's just like a nice sweet clone of the main antagonist. And what they bond over is the fact that they love inventing things. And maybe love is just food, and I actually don't know where I'm going with this, but can you please make this better, Sami? Thanks.
I think it is already a very good rant start off question. I mean, that idea of, like, love as this great thing that needs to be pursued. I think I definitely had that conceptualization. But also, I think there was this sense that love, especially romantic love, but even not any kind of love, as something inevitable. I mean, it's always depicted as something really hard that you need to fight for, but it's like, this inevitable, beautiful, like, love will be there in your life.
You always have to fight for it. There's no other consequence. You will fight for it.
And also kind of the idea that love is always there somewhere, always around you, and specifically romantic love is always an eventuality in your life.
And then, like, at some point you're just going to figure out that, oh yeah, I always felt this for this person, always, and I just realized it was always there.
Yeah, and then you're going to get in a relationship, and it's going, and maybe it'll break up and then you'll die alone, but love is going to inevitably, it is going to be there at some point in your life. And it took me a long time, and it continues to take me time to just deconstruct the idea that for some of us, love is not always there in a concrete form, irrespective of Ace. And I'm probably going to get into this on a later, it's not even a question at this point, at a later segment. But I mean, I think this fixation on love, not just in terms of being some great giant thing, but also in being some sort of central and constant in human life, can be destructive to all kinds of people. And also kind of just in the stories that I read growing up, in all of the movies, I think I had spoken about this in season 1 when we had our Alice Oseman episode, where it might have been the fan fiction episode, it might have been any one of them, but I used to look at this romantic love and I thought that it was all made up, because I mean, like, my parents were an arranged marriage, most of the parents, like, married couples around me were all arranged, so I was like, oh, love doesn't exist, this is made up. Like, at a later stage I thought of this, like werewolves and stuff. Like, we're just thinking of romantic relationships just to be silly, goofy, but also that, you know, some sort of relationship is always going to be there. Like, I never really made the connection of, you know, the sense of sexuality or romance is connected to this marriage and this social function. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, I'm interested. I think we started planning this episode to look at different representations of asexuality and also aromanticism, because we're all kind of in that aromantic spectrum region thing. But that idea of representations of this aspec being something beyond just the relationships. I think I really appreciate that.
Of being an individual aspect person and the emotions that just come with it, regardless of whether there's another person in your life. I think I kind of went on a rant about this in the previous episode that we did, of like this idea of any form of queerness is seen to exist only when it is associated with another person outside of yourself. But it doesn't need to be like that. And secondly, you can be in any sort and form of relationship, and like the whole is not greater than the sum of its parts. Like, the parts are the main part and the whole is just something that isn't a whole. It's just a third part between two parts or more parts, and something
Just
is
start that. Just start psychology is coming in. Sam, do you have anything?
Yeah, well, for me, the love thing, right? Like, for me, I never wanted, like, any romantic love or anything, but then it had always been some kind of void. Like, romantic love is like some kind of void inside that I can never have. And, you know, I'm consuming all these romance books, romance dramas and everything, but in a lens that, okay, like in a very detached sense of it's not going to be there, you know. So that's why I look for like other kinds of love, and I try to put more, you know, energy on that kind of love.
Kind of like an ace or arrow, like an aspec reading of the show where like a different non-romantic relationship gains its value in the plot.
No, and I try to relate it to like my own life. Like I try to put the relationship with my family, like I try to make it better, like the relationship with my friends too, so that they can like sustain me in this world of romantic partners and things like that.
Like social sustenance. Like, we are I think there's that conceptualization of, you know, I mean, this is very stereotypical to the point that it's very obviously untrue to me. But I think the same thing we were talking about the last episode, where just because I've been in this community for so long and it's obviously untrue to me, doesn't mean that other people still don't hold this stereotype. But there's that idea that if you don't have sexual love and if you don't have romantic love, that you're some robot, that you don't experience anything at all.
I genuinely, I'm no offense to elo people, I guess, and maybe this is just like some sense of sex repulsion that I have, like people having sex is slay. I will write about it, but I don't want that. Like I'm okay with thinking of it as something that's far away from myself. And I think it's just a lot of, in my journey, because it's kind of just starting, it's that guilt that I've had. One, because it's like I can never give something that someone would want from me, because I have had my fair, not a fair share, I guess, like a small unfair share.
Unfair to yourself, not unfair to other people.
Maybe fair to myself.
Okay, a share.
A share of experiences that are romantic. And one, I've had that guilt, which is like, oh, I don't have anything, I don't have that thing to give. And it was like, I don't have that thing to give right now, and it becomes, maybe I just didn't have that thing. And secondly, it's that feeling of, like what Sam said, right? like you consume a lot of romance and any idea of that in a very detached form from yourself. I think that's true of me in the sense that I have like really high ideals, and every single relationship I've had is just made me feel like, really, this is it. Nothing else, nothing fun. This is so boring. No offense to anyone, but it just feels like,
But it's like there's this narrative, like
yeah,
dynamic of the story.
it's the narrative of it.
Yeah. No, but the thing with me is that I dropped all my expectations like since the start. I'm like, it's never
Yeah,
going to
nahi hota
happen.
hai.
Yeah,
I just thought
never going to
this is a
happen.
this is a story, and everyone has a plot, and I will also have a very nice plot, and I'll be like, I need to build that plot now. I need to put work into building the plot, and then I'm building the plot, and then I'm like, wait, the plot isn't working because only I see the plot, and there's no plot.
It's like Anna is like, oh my god, this is a story and it's going to happen to me. And Sam is like, oh, this is a story, it's not going to happen to me. And I'm like, this is a story, it doesn't happen to anyone. This doesn't exist in real life. We just made it up. Yeah. Yeah, so trying to draw this back. I mean, we planned on having this episode relating to a lot of the shows that we watched or books that we read. I think the main ones we discussed was Koisenu Futari, which is this, we also brought up in the last question, it's this Japanese show. It literally translates to two people who can't fall in love. And it's about these eroes people who form, and what they say is family subject to change. And it's so great. We also looked at I Want to Be a Wall, which is, I guess it's a lavender marriage where there's this eroes girl, and she loves reading like BL, like romance, like comic books about men, gay men, and she marries like legally a gay man because their families are pressurizing both of them to get married. And so they have this very strange and interesting and unique relationship. So were there any other shows? Those are the two ones that
Those are the
Those are the ones I'm focusing on.
those are the two ones which we all have.
all of us have consumed, and we all have also consumed other various representations. And also, kind of, this is apart from all that, I am currently working on this research paper about where I'm using like fan fiction to understand like queer readings of, nationalist narratives in Indian film. And while I was writing that paper, I think I was struggling because in my own life, my framework of understanding queerness is always, kind of trying to conceptualize queerness as something good or prideful versus something bad or shameful, and kind of trying to make it into something neutral or irrelevant or overlookable. Like, okay, right now society views my queerness as being bad, so I need to view it as being good, so in the future it becomes something that no one has to think about. But I think over the course of my paper, I started to imagine it as queerness is not something that's here now because we are being marginalized, but rather as a way for us to just constantly revolutionize and change the way that we view relationships. And I feel this especially strongly for aspec relationships, right? Kind of that family is subject to change. They're not a typical idea of a family. They're not a typical husband and wife as Eroes characters. The way that they hold their relationship, it changes the way you see that word family. And even in I Want to Be a Wall, right, there is the way in which they are married, because there's very interesting scenes, like they change their Facebook status to say that we are married, right? Kind of there's this pride and this sense of, mutual and public like support and reliance on each other when they say that they are married. But at the same time, them being married becomes a point where other people shame them. Like there's a scene where the main character, I forgot her name, Yuriko. Yes, Yuriko, she meets her college friend, and that college friend used to always nag her that once the friend got a boyfriend, we used to always nag her like, oh, who do you like? When are you going to get a boyfriend? And then so they meet many years later, and the friend says, oh my god, our whole family are like forcing me and my husband to have a kid, even though we don't want to have a kid. And it made me reflect, and I felt really sorry for the way I kept nagging you about your boyfriend. And it seems like it's going to be this moment of like, you know, their understanding, but then she turns it over. But then I heard you got married, and I was so happy that you found the person of your dreams, and you know, congratulations, and I'm so happy for you. And so it becomes this moment where her aromanticism and her asexuality is being erased, where this person is allowed to assume that the relationship is doing this very romantic, very elevated, kind of that perfect transformative thing that we were talking about in the previous section, right? And so within those lines, right, kind of the way that having to view the world in this aspec way forces you to change those conventional lines and redraw them in new and interesting ways, is something that really interests me. So do you all have any thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, so for me, this aspect lens, it makes me notice a lot of these unconventional or non-typical family dynamics that's like present in media. And I mean, they probably did not intend it to be an unconventional family, but you know, you still notice
I
it.
think it helps you appreciate things.
Yeah.
That, I mean, if you're always thinking about things in terms of their dating or their like brother and sister or their like friends, it helps you appreciate it in more profound, perhaps, if that's the word, profound ways.
Yeah, and those things also makes you appreciate like non-romantic relationships even more, you know. It's like when you see a piece of media giving importance to like non-romantic relationship, that's also a very queer lens. Like, and I'm saying this like complete, like they're not looking at the romantic thing at all. I mean, they can. I mean, there might be some, but
romance is great. But also, it's like there are also
other things that are more
And
important.
we've fallen into this pattern of romance being the greatest thing.
Yeah.
And also how whenever any like big corporate is making a, you know, statement of, oh my god, we have representation, it's always like romantic. And you don't consider like, I think I just keep circling back to that same idea, which is like, you don't see this as one person being queer isn't enough on its own. It always has to be like they're in love, and so they're part of this like beautiful structure.
Queer people are allowed to be sad and alone.
Yeah. And they're also allowed to be like alone and happy about it. And alone and with their friends, and maybe they're not alone, and they're just there, like we're just here.
And I guess I'll talk about like some of the things that I watched where I don't know, there was this just pull of this unconventional family, because I love media where, you know, there is, I think it's basically relationship anarchy, but I just can't, I don't know.
Like something that's really ambiguous.
That is, we will actually, that's supposed to be the fourth question before we're going to initiate her into relationship anarchy.
Yeah, so I haven't been initiated.
Do you want to do that now? I will read out the manifesto. Anna, can you explain what is relationship anarchy while I pull up the manifesto?
Like to me in a way that I can understand.
It's basically just that there's this assumption that any sort of relationship has to be along the lines of what society says, but you're just coming over and saying that I'm not in a relationship for the sake of a society. I'm in a relationship for the sake of myself. So I get to define what that relationship is, and I get to choose like what I want in it, and I get to structure it in any way. So you have these many different forms of relationships that come within relationship anarchy. And the first time I heard about this concept was through the video of this one YouTuber I really love. She's called Leah's Field Notes, and I love her so much. She's so important to me. And she'd done this one video where she was talking about basically her experience of understanding, you know, what her sexuality is. And that's how she introduced this concept of relationship anarchy, where she went and stayed with this family where there are two people and they are married to each other, but they also they sleep in different rooms, and then they have kids with other people, but they also have kids with each other, and it's just
And they're happy.
they're happy. And like maybe at one point they had kids with each other, and now they're not in a sexual relationship, but they're still married to each other, and they live in the same house, but they have kids with other people, and all of those families are united together. So there is no real boundary or a real like you don't need a definition. It's just a relationship, and the point of relationships isn't for them to be like understood by everyone. As long as you are in some relationship and you are comfortable in it and you understand it, that's enough. So that's kind of the idea of it, basically. And one thing I'm obsessed with, in like there are many different forms. Some of the relationships that they say is like, oh, you can have a relationship like this or like this. There's something called a romantic friendship, and honestly, like, you can't even define that exactly and say like, oh, this is what a romantic friendship is. But maybe you have your own idea of what a romantic friendship will be like, and that means you're in a romantic friendship, and that's for you to choose. And maybe you can switch your labels up. And it's just this idea of the power of deciding rests in your hands and not in the hands of the society and people around you.
Yeah. So kind of, I'm going to just loop in with a short, like, not history lesson, but just kind of, so what the introduction of, relationship anarchy as this political and social kind of concept. It was introduced by this Swedish a person named Andy Nordgren. It was published in Swedish, and there's a translation of it available on the Anarchist Library. We will link that for y'all. I'll just...
Anarchist Library?
That's where we read Ursula K. Le Guin's the Carrier Bag Theory of Fiction.
It's a website. You've definitely read something from.
But it's a very interesting website. One of my favorite websites to just peruse. But I will just read out the statements, not the entire manifesto. The first one is, love is abundant and every relationship is unique. The second one is love and respect instead of entitlement. Kind of, you don't feel entitled to receiving a certain kind of thing. Third one, find your core set of relationship values. This is kind of about setting boundaries and expectations that are integral to your every relationship. A fourth one, heterosexism is rampant and out there, but don't let fear lead you. Fifth one, build for the lovely unexpected. Sixth one, fake it till you make it. Because kind of there is a learning curve. It's teaching yourself to, I mean, even me being extremely queer and submersing myself, is that a word?
Yeah, I think that
submerging myself in queer communities, it becomes that the internalization of heteropatriarchy and heteroamatonormativity, of just, those are very big words, of just, I'm used to living in this society where men-woman relationships and marriage children is so normal, and I'm constantly needing to teach myself out of it. What was the next one? Trust is better. Then eighth one, change through communication. And the ninth one, customize your commitments. It's really, I really love this manifesto. It was really eye-opening for me in a number of ways, because whenever I try to measure or compare my relationships by the kind of relationships that other people who are perhaps not queer, who are perhaps not aspec, when I try to compare my relationships to the ones that other people hold, I always feel like I come up short in some way, or like my relationships and emotions are not sufficiently meeting the boundaries or requirements, that my love is not enough, or that my commitment is not enough, or that it's too much in other places, right? And kind of this is like, why are we teaching ourselves constantly for that to matter? And shouldn't we just seek relationships that meet where we will always be enough, where whatever commitment we can give is still valued? And I think I am moving away from the labels of aromantic and asexual because of that reason. I in a sense, those labels are also boundaries being set by other people. And I think it's interesting to use labels as a way to explore community. And then if you ever feel comfortable doing that, if that community is ever not enough, that you can take the knowledge that you gain through that community and then move it somewhere else so you can start exploring yourself. But that's why I think this relationship anarchy has been really eye-opening to me.
Really precious to me to have that knowledge of. I think it's along something that Takahashi-san says in Koisenu Futari, where Sakuko goes to like a convention or just a place where she talks with a lot of different aspec people, and then she comes back and she's like, these are the kinds of relationships that I saw, and he's like, it doesn't need to be exactly like that, like you decide how it goes. And towards the end they say something like, any terms and words and conceptions of specific relationships, they keep changing all the time, and isn't that change a very beautiful part of anything? And I agree with you with what you said about the labels. I think I've, with my aspec experience, I've just had this like guilt with how I really like when something's really undefined and ambiguous and not even implied, like it's just surprising that I don't know where this is going, I don't know what exactly this is, but it'll just make me feel like my need for ambiguity is making someone else feel uncomfortable or just invalidated or not listened to. But I think it's just that we all have different conceptions of different forms of love, and that's okay, and that's actually great, because we are all unique people, and maybe the bond I have with Sami is different from the bond I have with Sam, and both of them are precious to me, and both of them are important to me. And at the end of the day, it's just that, like, I don't want to go into like love is love, but love is love, and
not love can be not love.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter.
It's like something you're a person in the end, and you're just like you're here, and that's Sam, what do you want to say?
Well, going back to where we stopped with the word relationship anarchy, I was going to talk about the things I like what made me notice. So it's like 3 things, and I mean, I always bring out 3.
Three is a good number.
No, I always bring out 2 things. Like remember last episode, I used to bring, I'll bring 2 things. Okay, this time it's 3 things.
Bring any number of things.
I mean, it was initially 2 things, but then this morning I was watching the Makanai cooking at Maiko house, in which it's like the story of these 2 young girls who go to work in this Maiko house it's like in Kyoto in Japan. And so the show revolves around like cooking. Obviously, it's called cooking at the Maiko house. Cooking.
Oh, I thought they were playing baseball in the house. Continue.
Yes, it's about cooking mostly. There are other things. It's very slow. It's a very comforting show. But it's also about their friendship, the 2 girls' friendship. I mean, there is an implication of this one of the girls having an interest in one boy. I haven't fully finished watching it. But at the same time, there's this line where the other people are saying that these 2 girls are like this old married couple because so one of them cooks all the time and she's just always there supporting her in the side. And I see those are the kind of like non-implied what do you say,
like obviously they're supporting and depending on each other, and obviously like they're the biggest like pillar in each other's lives, and this one is interested in some boy, and both of those are possible and not mutually exclusive.
So that, I mean, I actually wanted to talk more about it in the sense, I saw a discussion about it where they're like, the gay subtext is there. They're obviously both gay for each other. But I'm like, do they have to be? Why do they have to be?
Actually. And the thing is, kind of this sort of leans into what I wanted to ask for a later question. So, should we combine those as a single section?
I think we should just combine.
What do you mean?
But like, finish saying your 3 things.
No, as in it directly goes in.
Okay.
No, because just I think because I get into this argument a lot with my sister, but there's like either a good straight couple or like a potentially gay couple, and I will be like, oh my god, they're so QPR coded. And then there is this sense of like, you're erasing the gays, and I'm like, you're erasing the aces.
Okay, I want to say about that, because I saw this comment where there's like, there is no heterosexual explanation for this. And I'm like, there is an asexual explanation for this. Excuse me.
But my argument is, right, and I think that this is maybe an interesting one to make, which is that it doesn't have to be gay or ace. And this is not like it's a queer thing, because I have gotten into fights over only one of libido, where I was like, oh my god, this is so queer, and they're like, gay erasure, and I was like, fuck you. So it's not that this is that relationship is, it doesn't have to be that this relationship is ace, or that this relationship is gay, or even that this relationship is queer. I think what we can value in that representation is that it's changing the way that we view relationships through our heteropatriarchal upbringing. And is that not valuable enough? Is that not something that we can agree on? That, it's revolutionary in some sense, and it's different. It's revolutionary in different ways to me and in different ways to you, but it's changing something in the way we see ourselves in our relationships. And shouldn't that be, a mode of, coming together in this movement? Yeah, Anna?
I think in a similar lines with a lot of sports anime that I've seen, because, okay, not that many, maybe I watched like 2, but I like to say I'm a sports anime fan. And not exactly like a sports anime, but along a similar idea of a bunch of people just, spending time together, doing things together, being friends, and maybe even like being of the same gender identity. There's this one show called Play It Cool Danchi, or Play It Cool Guys, which is it's about this group of guys, like all of these individual guys, and they're kind of young, they look nice, and like when you see them doing things, even if they do something embarrassing, you'll just be like, oh wow, that's such a cute person. So I can you either find that like everyone around them either finds them like cute or hot or something, or they'll just be like, oh yeah, they're so cool, they played it cool basically. But they're all like insanely socially awkward, and basically the story is them kind of becoming friends with each other and just hanging out together, and it's really just that. But I think there can be this like little, at least I have that, where same way that Sam said, like there's no heterosexual explanation for this, and you'll be like, in my head I've actually gone to that point where I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely like gay, only gay. I started off doing that for this show, but then you just start getting to that understanding of, oh, it's just a bunch of people who are hanging out together, and maybe
connect to this show in a way that,
and the relationship to me here is just hanging out together, which is a form of relationship in my head, and that's great. Like it made me feel nice, it reminded me of something that was happy, it reminded me of my friends. Same with Going 17, which is the game variety show that 17, this boy group, has. I'm kind of going off the rails somewhere.
It's valuable enough because it's valuable to you.
Yeah. I'll talk about the other 2 shows that I wanted to talk about in the Found Family episode.
We should be doing next, whenever we upload after this one.
One day soon.
Someday soon, yes.
Okay, so we talked about AROA's representations and other things in the past segments, and I wanted to ask this question of what kind of AROA stories, or that kind of stories do you want to see, of more do you want to, like, what
More?
Yeah, like now we have very less representations already, and it's like limited, right? So we know what is there in the we know how much of it is there, what kind of narratives, what kind of things are already there in the space right now. I mean, there are a bunch of which we don't know of, but still, is there some story or some kind of relationship that you want to see more in media? Yeah.
I have an answer.
Okay. Sami?
So it was, I mean, I think with a lot of, I want this kind of representation, the question becomes, can it be potentially destructive, and also, is the world, air quotes, ready for it? Becomes the question. Yeah, no, definitely I'm being really idealistic with my answer that I have. But I mean that's always the question that comes into question, that questions the hope for representation. But one thing I think I really long for is, there's this coexistence of, I'm surrounded by people who I very securely know love me. I have really valuable friendships. I have really valuable relationships within my family, surprising though it sometimes is. And at the same time, there is loneliness. Like, this is one of the big, it's not even hypocrisy, but it's this kind of confounding reality of a lot of aspec relationship and aspec representation, which is, on the one hand, we're complaining that, you're representing us as, emotionless, lifeless robots. On the other hand, it does get really lonely. But that loneliness is always a very human loneliness of no one else is experiencing the same thing that I am. It feels like that a lot of the time. And even the togetherness is a very human togetherness of I'm with people that I love. And I wish, and I think this is one thing I maybe spoke about at some point when you were talking about Heartstopper, maybe on this podcast, maybe not. But it was that in season 2, Isaac, he is he Erois? He is Erois. Yeah, he is Erois. And there's, most of the time he's with his books. There's one small moment where he's like, he screams at his friend and he's like, I didn't like him, and not everything is about romance, and leave me alone. But I kind of wish, and perhaps this would never happen because he is a white man in Britain, but a lot of me being potentially not ever having a romantic or sexual relationship with someone comes to a conflict with the expectations that my family has of me in this collectivist society, of kind of the role of women in Indian society, and kind of that heroisness comes to conflict with a lot of relationships around you in a way that can make you feel lonely. And I don't, maybe I won't get a fictional representation of that. Maybe I'll write some long ass memoir or a personal essay about that, and that will be my representation. And certainly I think if my family members or my mom read that piece, they would be like, see, you're lonely and miserable, be different. But maybe she wouldn't. Maybe she would be accepting. But I think that's the question of, would people be ready for it? Because I've been in this community for a long time. Like I'm used to the kind of representation that is or isn't there. But it just makes me wonder.
No, I mean, people don't have to be ready for it as long as it's for us.
I want it.
Yeah.
I want it.
That's all. Okay. So for me, it's so in the things we talked about, the two things we talked about, they are being heroes in the story with another person. Like there's always another person. But I want to see of how to be heroes alone.
Heroes without any relationship.
Yeah.
It's always a lavender marriage.
Yeah. I mean, not even, just there's always another person there. I want to see something where a person is just living a life in this world alone. And the thing is, like, what makes me scared is, how do I live in this world, and you need a blueprint for that, like you have blueprints for all romantic relationship, toxic relationship, this relationship, that. There's like so much.
Enemies, lovers,
Every-
you can be
yeah.
best friends. You
There
can
are
be, like,
many ways in which
Yeah.
you can have a relationship, and it's there in stories and movies. But how is that? I don't have a vision of how I'm going to live like this in my 30s or in my 40s
we all
or in
want
my
to sit and
50s.
ideate. We can create 3 OCs right now. Have their life divided.
Like,
into
what do I do when I'm 45? That is my mother's age. And what am I doing then? So I want to see more stories like that, where, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be about like a slice of life thing. Just generally someone like that.
Like you solve a mystery and
Yeah.
then you get a medal and then it's fun and interesting. Or
Yeah.
you help, I don't know, some group of grandmothers in your apartment start a business and then there's no relationship. There's this kind of something like that. Or on one day of the week you go trekking with your trekking friends, and then the next day of the week, and then like some 4 or 5 days you go to work, and then you have friends at work, and then the last day you stay by yourself
At home
with
yourself.
yeah, maybe you bake something, maybe you have a cat, and then so your life is fulfilled and has something that keeps you motivated throughout. And I think it's very, I agree, it's kind of scary and terrifying to imagine that, but it's also very cool.
It is very cool. Yes.
I think for me, watching a lot of daily life vlogs has given me that. Not, even though they're not as old, I guess they're like in their 30s, but 2 of the vloggers that I watch like every single week without fail, the moment they upload, I mean not the moment, but the same day they upload, is Plandy and Ondo, and both of them, like, I've been watching them for like 5 years or so, and they don't have a partner. They have not mentioned a partner in the past, and they just like, they have their hobbies, and then they cook for themselves, and then they do their work, and then they go out to cafes, maybe they hang out with their friends, then they go to museums. Plandy learned how to cycle, and it's just really nice. But for the representation that I want, maybe for me, I want to write my representation down and just write my own like
The
representation you want to see more. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi as
much as I dislike that man,
that was a nice
that is a nice phrase
is
that I
the-
have
yeah.
valued. Recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle, increase, reuse, recycle in all facets of my life.
basically someone in a very queer coded relationship goes through confusing things and ends up identifying.
Story of my life.
Yeah, genuinely.
I am your representation.
So that I can
मैं हूँ ना,
Shah
मैं
Rukh
हूँ
Khan.
ना, मैं हूँ ना,
So
मैं
that
हूँ ना,
I can
मैं हूँ ना,
may is inside
मैं
in I am.
Okay.
But that, and also like a polycule, which is just a slice of life, lots of people living together, but there is the implication of a polycule. Maybe it's just me, I'm really scared of being like, oh, where will my life go when I will be all alone? So I envision a future with my friends.
Have
Okay.
you seen that Tumblr post? Oh, they're in a polyamorous polycule, and then the reply is that, isn't that just a bunch of friends?
Real.
That's
the future I want.
A very controversial Tumblr post. May I get into this
Yes.
minorly, because it's just me factual research. But people were like,
Oh wait.
yeah, they're polyamory, but like platonic, and then the response is, so a group of friends. This is not Tumblr. This is
No, the thing
is this Tumblr? Is this Discord? It looks like Discord.
that looks like TikTok actually.
Yeah, it does look like TikTok.
But I found this on Tumblr, that's why.
Yeah. No, but it actually turned into this giant Tumblr discourse when it came onto Tumblr, where it was like, kind of, we're tired of like polyamory and specifically QPRs being equated to friendships, and they're not. There's specifically something beyond that, and something like kind of profound that blurs the lines between relationships. And kind of, I was like, I think y'all just really wanted to have a fight. Like, I mean, I think I genuinely, perhaps, probably, those all meant something to the people in the conversation. Like, that conversation meant something to every single person in that conversation. But also, as in, people really cared about what it was they were saying while they were having that big fight of, oh it's just a friendship, or oh, it's a polyamorous platonic thing, or oh, it's whatever else. That everyone fighting in that fight really cared about, the way that their sexuality and representations are considered. But I also think that, I have never understood my friends' romantic and sexual exploits, and perhaps it is not for us to understand other people's relationships and the way they choose to label
Relationship anarchy.
Relationship anarchy.
I think that's the bottom line of this episode.
Relationship anarchy.
Full stop.
Full stop.
The WRW podcast is a podcast where 6 friends discuss books, movies, and media that interest them. This episode was scripted by and featured Anand, Sami, Sam, with a short cameo from Abhi. Our audio editor is Devi. Don't forget to follow us at wrw.podcast on Instagram and at wrw_podcast on Twitter. You can write to us at womenarwomen22@gmail.com. We also have a blog which is linked in the show notes, along with everything mentioned in this episode. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. You outro me.